My name is Paul Reed, and one of the owners of Northwest Roofing. We're a commercial roofing company headquartered out of Denver. We do work all over the United States. And first off, how many of you guys are right now doing commercial work? So about half the room. I'm assuming everybody else wants to start doing a little bit of commercial work, would be my assumption. So a little backstory about me. This is celebrating my 31st year in the roofing industry. I started roofing when I was 18 years old, and now I'm kind of starting to become the old guy in roofing. And it's all I know, it's all I do. I still love it, I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about education. I get pretty upset in the fact that I do think that roofing is one of the greatest trades and industries that there really is. It's a place that a lot of us can go to and work at, you know, that maybe doesn't have a lot of education or college degrees. What I really need is work ethic, number one. I need that. That's obviously a really good thing. But the next thing that I really need is I need to be able to educate myself, to be able to further myself along. We've all seen a ton of companies come in. You can start up, especially here in Texas, do it in Colorado as well. If I decide today that I want to own a roofing company, I can literally start one tomorrow, print some yard signs, and we can start roofing. We see that all the time, right? That's the majority of our industry, companies that come in, come out, and they're gone, and it harms our industry. So I love organizations like RCAT that's trying to bring people together and do things the right way. But when I started roofing, obviously, you know, shingles, metal, all those things, I was actually the installer for the first 15 years of my career. 16 years ago, I got in problems with drugs and alcohol, ended up in rehab, been clean and sober since then. Very end, I'll tell you a little bit about what we do with roofers in recovery. But since then, I've been on the ownership side, management side of roofing. And years ago, we used to do a ton of residential jobs. Talking 2,000 to 3,000 residential jobs every single year. And that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work, that's a lot of grinding, that's relying on a lot of hailstorms, windstorms, things like that. And we were pretty successful at doing it. And I enjoyed it. But the one thing that always bothered me was I would be driving down the road and I would see some commercial building. You know how we do, it doesn't matter where we're at in the United States. If we're in a foreign country, we're not really looking at the scenery, we're looking at the damn roof. Right? I was at the White House like a year ago, and instead of looking at like the whole White House, I was going, what type of roof system's on there? And like, who gets to do maintenance and serve, you know? That's what I was thinking. So I've always noticed different roofs, and all of a sudden you would drive by and you would see somebody doing a roof on this big multi-family apartment complex, a large HOA, an industrial building. I'm kind of snoopy, so I would drive in there and I would see who it was. And I'd be like, man, I know those guys. They're an awful company. You know, everybody's worse than you are. They're an awful company, but somehow, some way they were doing these jobs. So that would always bother me as I was driving to the 21 square feet roof that we had going on that day. And so I was like, how do I do this? How do I start getting into commercial roofing? And then what kicked it over for me was the fact that in residential, the way that our company was set up, and I'm going to guess the way that a lot of your guys' company is set up, when I went to bed on December 31st, I would always be a successful roofing company owner. It didn't matter what we did. Say we did $8 million, $10 million, $20, $30 million that year. And I'd pat myself on the back and I'd be like, man, you guys, we did so good. We ran a great company. It was a successful year. But then when I woke up on January 1st, I was a $0 a year company and I literally had to start all over again. And I've got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 people relying on me to lead them, coach them, mentor them through this, and build our company back again so I could get December 31st. And I finally got to the point about 7 years ago that I mentally just could not take that anymore. The stress and the pressure of rebuilding my residential roofing company every single year literally wasn't worth it anymore. I just didn't have it in me. I was exhausted. I was just over it. I didn't want to do it. Here's what I knew. In the previous year or two, we had lucked into a couple larger jobs. When I say lucked into them, knew a guy that said we were a good roofer, and all of a sudden we were doing a job that was a large job. And what I figured was the lifespan of those jobs, I would start working on them, and it would take 6 months, 9 months, a year, a lot of times to close them out. On the residential side, we're all kind of used to meeting a customer on Monday, probably signing the contract that night or the next day, getting it put into production, literally roofing it the next week, getting paid out on it, right? It's a quick lifetime. And it's just boom, 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 boom. On the commercial side, it's a cycle, and it takes quite a while. Yes, on occasion, we'll stumble into one that we can sign right away, or the material, get it roofed in a couple of weeks, but for the most part, it takes a long time. And so I was just, I don't know, dumb enough or smart enough that I said, I'm going all in on commercial roofing. And I literally blew up a $30 million a year residential company to go all in on commercial. And I walked into the office and I said, you're a commercial guy, you're a commercial guy, you're a commercial guy, and this is what we're going to do. And by the grace of God, I'm standing here today because we made it through. We probably should have made it through. Since those have passed, I became very passionate about the education of transitioning from residential into commercial. And the reason being so is I have paid the dump tax that I feel that you guys do not have to pay. I already paid the dump tax, I made the mistakes that could have buried us because of one simple fact. I assumed roofing was roofing, which it is, but I also didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. I was too prideful and arrogant and had too big of an ego to really ask for help. Because years ago, for those of you that have been around in the industry for as long as I have, you didn't really talk to any competitors. You damn sure didn't come to a class on a Thursday morning in Houston and sit in class and listen to some guy from Denver talk about roofing. That just wasn't how it was, or at least my world. All you wanted to do was, you ran into somebody, brag about how great you're doing, and you never have any leaks, and I roofed all these houses, and I never have a leak, all my customers are happy, and blah, 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 blah. But I made these mistakes, and I decided, I already did it, I'm going to educate people on how to make that transition. So one of the very first things that we have to look into and we have to understand is what I call the liability of commercial roofing. Liability is huge. How many of you guys, please raise your hand, high and proud, have totally screwed up a roof and you had to redo it? 3, 4, 5, 6 people, right? Talking residential, you know, we put the wrong color on. It was supposed to be weathered wood and put on charcoal, right? The crew didn't fasten it properly. I'm telling you now, if you haven't had that experience yet, you probably will. Here's the thing, in residential, when we do that, yes, it's a big deal, but it's not a huge deal because more than likely it's going to probably cost you $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 to redo it. Got to buy new material, got to pay for the crew to go back out. Your ego's a little bruised, but it's not a big deal. It's probably not going to take you out of business, right? If $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 mistake takes you out of business, probably got some other things that we need to talk about to get in better shape with that. It's probably not going to take you out of business. When we get into the commercial, what we do at that point is we add zeros and commas to the liability. The zeros and commas are multiplied. It's a big deal. What was a big deal to me, we had one, I think the second year into it, we had, I should have apparently been to the class right before us because we were talking about the metal, and we screwed up the job. my crew, even though I had site superintendents on the job and all these things, all the quality control that I thought we had in place, we had the wrong fastening pattern. My guys were putting one screw on the face instead of the two. The snow bars, they actually put them on backwards. This was up, if you guys know anything about Colorado, up in the mountains by Vail. There was this big building up there. It had 7 foot of snow on it. I'll never forget when I got the call. I was on a train at the airport at Terminal B, and it was like 8:30 at night. I got a phone call that said the whole roof ripped off. I was like, how the hell did, blah, 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 how did the roof rip off? Come to find out, we messed up. That was a $300,000 mistake that cost me right out of pocket to fix things, right? We did some stuff wrong with our insurances because we thought we had liability insurance. We thought our GL was correct, all these things. So right out of the gate, it cost me $300,000. We ended up in a big lawsuit with our carrier over it, which we eventually won. At the end of the day, I had spent like $900-some thousand out of pocket to make this right, because when the snow ripped off, not only did it strip the inside, it was a skate park, they had ramps and all these different things, and foam pits, and messed up all the HVAC thing. It was a bad deal. We came out of it years later okay, but I'm telling you, like, generally that's going to take most people out of business. Luckily, we had been responsible with their money, we scraped by and we made it work. But that was a lesson to me. Most of us, including myself, don't take our liabilities like we should. Meaning that, like, well, I got workman's comp, I got GL, but I don't really know what I have. Come to find out, we start selling these jobs, and I'm selling HOAs. We're going out doing HOA work, and most HOAs are like duplex, they're triplexes. So I roofed a few $1 million of those. Guess what? My insurance didn't actually cover me to do duplexes. I roofed multifamily jobs. Guess what? I wasn't actually insured to do 3-story jobs. I was insured to do 2-story jobs. I didn't have 3-story insurance. I didn't have insurance for, and it wasn't that we were trying to get one over and pay a lesser premium. We didn't know what we didn't know. Because we follow our broker that we've used for years. And the only question they would ask us was like, well, what are you guys guessing the share for revenue? And so we would guess. We'd be like, I don't know, maybe 20 million. And we would always guess lower than what we really thought, because we thought we would have to pay as much, and then, they caught us at the end, when we didn't audit, and we would, pay whatever. But we played that game. And luckily, none of it really came back to haunt us. We got out of that. But it was something that could have took us out of business. We could have been all over Facebook, like you've seen people all the time getting in trouble, doing these things. That could have been us, because we didn't know what we didn't know. And so what I'm telling you guys is, number one, what I need you to do if we're looking at transitioning from residential to commercial, one, even if you're not, look at your insurances and see what you have right now. Make sure that your insurances are correct. Make sure that you're actually dealing with a broker that deals with construction, specifically roofing, that knows what you need. A lot of these little policies and endorsements that you need, literally are like $100 extra. For us to do the duplex, it was a couple $100 more a year. We would have gladly paid it. We didn't realize we needed it. No one told us. And that's okay, so we got through it. Start with your broker. Find out where you're at right now. See what your crews have. I know that there's been a bigger push in Texas over the years to make sure that the crews have, their workers' comp and their liability. Guys, even if it's not a state requirement, I'm begging you to have your crews get insurance. People are a lot different nowadays. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I don't think we were really a soup-happy society. We are now. A lot of people are looking for free tickets, so make sure that you're covered, because it's going to take you out. But let's start with that. If we're looking at anything from residential and commercial, make sure that your insurance is proper. The second thing that you want to do is you really need to make that decision with your team and with your family this works. Because again, it is a process. Cash flow slows down. Cash flow slows down. In residential, we're relying on the fact that hopefully we can pick up the check from Mrs. Smith on Thursday afternoon for $8,400, and Mrs. Jones and all those people, so we can make payroll on Friday, right? That was my experience, and maybe some of yours. We get more into the commercial bill. We're kind of dealing on their terms at this point. They have 30-day pay, 60-day, 90-day. We need to understand the liability of that and what cash flow looks like. Right now, if you can't cash flow your residential side, start planning how we're going to cash flow this commercial side. The third thing, here is the key. I owe all my success in the commercial space to one department in my office, and that is our repair department. So I want to dig in pretty heavy on the repair department. The repair department is my greatest marketing tool that I have. So any of the markets that I work in, you will not drive around and see big billboards and fancy, we got a couple pickups, that has some loads on it, but you have some big fancy load out pickups. I'm not advertised on the radio or the TV. I'm not sponsoring huge events all the time. We're there, we're small sponsor or whatever. It all comes down to my repair department. And from a repair department, to lead us into the repair department, that's always going to be a business development person. Why do you understand the difference between business development and sales? I'm telling you right now, personally, over the last, let's say 5 years, personally, I've probably signed $25 million of contracts. I have not sold one of those jobs. I have not sold one of those jobs where, all the little tricks that we all have set at the kitchen table to get a customer to sign. I have not sold one of those jobs. They are all due to building a relationship. So relationships really, really, really are important. They really, really matter. And so, I'm assuming everybody's kind of scattered out from here. Not everybody's in Houston. Where are you guys from? Here in Houston? You guys? Fort Worth. You guys? Where?
Here, local Pasadena, and then they have a location in Dallas.
Okay. So it doesn't matter where you're at. I promise you that if I was to open up a branch in any part of Texas, anywhere across the United States, the very first thing I would do is I would set up the repair division. The repair division is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. There's a lot that goes into it. I think we got like 45 minutes, so I can't get too deep into it. But with the repair division, it does a couple things. It's my greatest marketing arm. Because why? The majority of contractors, even though we all say that we do repairs and we all do re-roofs, the majority of contractors across the country don't do repairs. And if they do repairs, they screw them up. Why? Because all of a sudden, the sales rep stumbles across something, someone says, hey, I have a leak. So he turns it in production off to the production team at the office. What does the production team at the office do? They call your crew that's out on a job somewhere. They're doing a residential house. They're probably going to get done 4, 5, 6 o'clock that night. What are they going to do? They're going to drive over after they finish that job, and they're going to go try to find this leak on some apartment complex or some flat roof somewhere. You don't really know if they went, right? You call your crew, and you're like, hey, are you on the way? And they're like, oh yeah, we'll be there in 30 minutes. They may or may not show up. That's been roofing, right? That's just roofing. You have no idea if your crew's going to show up. And so after a while, it just doesn't work. So for a lot of years, I actually despised repairs. I was losing thousands of dollars a year and actually banned our company from doing repairs. The reason we were losing thousands of dollars a year is because we were doing, 100 repairs a year, just one-offs here and there. My guys would go out, look at it, my sales rep that 6 months ago was working in a car lot, didn't know a damn thing about roofing. We'd go look at something and tell the homeowner or tell whoever, yeah, we could fix that, $500. He would turn it in, send it to my production would assign some roofer crew to go out and do it. The next Monday, I was getting an invoice from my roofer for $1,000 because he went out and fixed it. That was a consistent thing, so I gave him repairs. That's you guys' experience. There's a few of you that are agreeing. So I was like, man, went to the man, they started talking. There was a guy just like me that got up in front of us, and he was talking about repairs. And I was sitting there actually kind of insulted and mad because I was like, I cannot believe this organization had this guy come in and lie to us about how great repairs are. Because my experiences are awful and I lose a hell of a lot of money and like people are pissed off because we don't know what's going on with them. And so, kind of out of spite, I was like, I need to learn the repair stuff because they're kind of prove this guy wrong. That's the type of person I am. So we got into it. We go out, first thing we did is we bought a truck, right? We actually bought a van. We bought a van, we put Northwest Roofing repair division on it. We hired one guy. That was our senior tech. We hired our senior tech. We get him out in the field. We had a lead call come in. He went out and looked at it, diagnosed it, looked at it, and was like, "Here's what it's going to take. It's going to cost, $250 to do it. It's going to take 2 hours to do it. It's a drive of 33 miles, blah, 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 blah." We did all these things, and then we started figuring out. And today, out of my offices, one of my offices will do over $2 million in repairs this year. And here's the key. At a 60% margin. So do the math on that. That's just one office. Do $2 million repair at a 60% margin. That's actually just a really good business in itself. You could make a business out of that. I have other offices, that will do $1 million. I have an office in Arizona. I think it's right at $1 million this year. I think it's like a 54%. That's still pretty good. That's still really good. Here's the key to that. That's great. That makes a lot of money. Makes you successful with that. It helps with cash flow, right? It helps with cash flow. That money's just kind of trickling in, but it's good for cash flow. The most important part of that, though, I serve my customers where the majority of roofing contractors do not. The majority of roofing contractors do not do that because when you do repairs, I treat a $1,200 repair the same way I do a $1.2 million job. And that's with the communication, that's with all the documentation and all those different things. So if you're dealing with anybody that owns a property or manages the property, when something happens and they get a leak, that's a problem for them, right? That's an important thing that's going on in their world. They got a leak, the tenant in building 14B is pissed off, it's leaking, and it's an emergency. What they want is they want an easy button. Just like you or I, we want to find an easy button in whatever we do in life. If I can find an easy button to make things happen, I constantly just want to hit it. So if I can go out and I can build relationships and partnerships in repairs, that's how we start getting this work. How many contractors are in Dallas? Like how many roofing contractors are there? How many roofing companies? How many?
Oh.
No, sorry.
Sorry, you can ask how many.
Yeah, like roughly 10,000 companies, 12,000?
About 7,000.
7,000? What about Houston?
About the same.
About the same? Denver has about the same as well, right? This is what kind of sucks. When we're out in the field, something happens, you get a hailstorm, right? And you go out into the field and there's, say, a neighborhood with 200 houses in it. How many roofing companies are in there? How many different roofing sites do you see?
7,000.
Right. That's our experience too. You go into a storm, you're competing against 7,000 roofing contractors here in Houston. You're in Dallas, you're competing against 7,000. And you know what else kind of sucks? Is every one of them, my guy right here, they all have a shirt on just like he does, a nice polo, right? We have a nice polo. We generally have our logo over our left side. On our right arm, may have like a Nike symbol or a whatever, Travis Matthews. The other arm may have the BBB, whatever, right? We're all the same, is what I'm telling you. When you go out into a neighborhood, for the most part, when we really admit it and think about it, we're all the damn same. We have the same little cool polo shirt on. We're all driving a lifted pickup truck. Right? Got a fancy business card. We got a folder, got a flyer. I'm a great roofing contractor, so are you. Master League with GAF, so are you. You're platinum with OC. But we're all the same, right? And it's hard to compete, and that's fine. I love competition. I'll still go out and compete. But when I take those 7,000 contractors that are here in my market, and then I go back into like the commercial world, I eliminated probably 6,300. So now I'm competing against about 10% of them. When I take that 10%, and I take my repair department and what I do in repairs, I eliminate about 95% of those guys. Because the fact of the matter is, most sales guys will walk into a commercial property, be it multifamily, be it a commercial low slope, a strip mall, and what's the first thing that they do? The very first thing that everybody does is they go in there and they try to sell them a roof. They try to sell them the roof. Why do people own commercial properties? It's an investment. It's an investment. What do they want on their investment? They want an ROI, right? They want a return on their investment. And so if I walk into a commercial property, and the first thing that I'm trying to do is sell them something, what's going to happen to me? They're going to cut me off, they're going to run me out the door. Same thing that happens when someone walks into your office trying to sell you something, right? Does any of us like to be sold? I hate going to a store like the mall, and there's a salesman. I hate going and buying a car. I don't like to be sold. I kind of like to take my time and look at things and do it, but I don't like to be sold. So that's another key. And I apologize for not having the slides, guys, because you get quick pictures, and I hope this is going okay. That's where my relationship starts. So we always make sure that we understand the difference between sales and relationships. How do we get that? So we kind of retitled everybody and their business development. They're not salespeople, they're business development. So business development, well, my business development people are always out going and doing. And this is how I come into any town, city across America, across Texas, and start a roofing company. So my business development people would go out and we would start networking, and they would start building relationships and partnerships. Because as you go in and try to sell them a job, I'm going to go in and I'm going to listen to them, I'm going to hear their concerns, and I'm going to intentionally tell them that, basically, congratulations, because we're now partners on this property. We're now going to be partners on this property. What does that look like? So one of our logos, basically, is repair, maintain, replace. So every one of our customers know that when we start this relationship, what we're looking to do with them as we're building this relationship is we're going to come out, we're going to analyze the roof, we are going to repair it, we're going to maintain it, and eventually we know that we're going to replace it. Because if I come out of the gate right away and I let them know, hey, sorry to tell you, but your roof's screwed up and it's going to cost you $1.6 million to get this done. What are they going to do? They're going to run me out the door. If I walk in and I get an opportunity to get up on the roof and see what's really going on and kind of dig into it, figure out that like, hey, this roof was put on, 9 years ago, and it should be, this roof should last 20 years. It's just in bad shape right now, but here's what I can do to repair it where I need to actually replace it to where it works for them. Because they don't mind, they do know on their investment that they're gonna have to spend some money at some point. They're business people, they understand that. But if I'm able to show them, like, hey, right now, guys, we need to come out of pocket, you know, $4,900, we can repair this deal, we can maintain it over the next couple of years. If I could get you to 2025, knowing that 2025 is probably gonna roughly cost you like $1.2 million if you can start budgeting it towards then, they're good with that. They understand that. Especially when we start talking about like multifamily, and CapEx money, and all those types of things that they have. Because we need to learn their language, we need to understand that I'm not here to sell them something, I'm here to partner with them when I build this relationship. Because now it is a partnership, we're partnering on this property. Does that make sense to everybody? That's where it's at. Sales cease to exist. It's all about building the relationship. So there are different organizations, it doesn't matter what part of Texas you're in. There are different organizations, there are some statewide, but there's always global ones. You're gonna have the Apartment Association of Dallas. You're gonna have the Apartment Association of Houston. You're gonna have the CAIs. You're gonna have the Bowmans. What I would recommend that you do is kind of analyze your market and look for soft spots. Because there's probably, in most of your markets, there's going to be 3 or 4 or 5 companies that do the majority of multifamily. There's going to be 3, 4, or 5 companies that do the majority of HOA work. There's going to be companies that do the low slope. So what we did once we kind of understood what we were doing, we started analyzing what was going on. So in our market, in one market, say in Denver, I realized there was these 4 companies that were doing the majority of HOA work. Well, what happens to most guys, just like most salespeople, we get fat and happy, right? We take our eye off the prize and we're not serving our customers like we should because we think they're loyal to us and they're always going to stick with us. So we just started coming in, and my goal was to go be the 3rd or 4th roofer for this organization. So if you pull up right now, like Property Managers Houston, you just pull it up Google, you're probably going to find, well, I'll tell you what I did. This was from real life experience. When I opened up Phoenix Market 4 years ago, the first thing I did was I Googled property management companies, Phoenix Metro. At that time, it pulled up like 280 different property management companies. So, okay, I got my base. I got 280 customers. So then we just started eliminating. I eliminated the big ones. I eliminated the big ones like the Gray Star of the world. I do work with Gray Star in Denver, but I can't Gray Star in Phoenix. I eliminated Gray Star. I eliminated like MSI. I eliminated real properties because they were the big boys that probably maybe had some national accounts. I'm not going to go after that. I was trying to find what I call the mom and pop property management companies. Who are the mom and pop property management companies? They manage 4, 5, 6, 8 properties. Husband and wife team, right, whatever it is. They probably have a relationship or 2 with some local roofer. More than likely, he's kind of dropped the ball on them a few times and I could slide in the door. So I started going after those people because they have, again, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 properties. Right? Now I just kind of keep climbing up the ladder. Does that make sense to everybody? Like just the simple tools of Google you could use. If you join the organizations I previously mentioned, the Apartment Associations, the CAI is Community Associates, whatever. They do the HOAs of the world. That's a nationwide deal. You join those deals, they'll actually give you a list of all the property managers, in town. But start picking them up. You start walking into them. And again, I'm not walking into them like my typical roofer that walks in that has my Max Roofing shirt on and my broke-off hat. That's what I normally like to wear too. But when I walk into a property management company, I'm not going to be my typical roofer. I'm going to walk in like I'm a professional and I'm a pro. And I'm going to be, business casual. I'm not necessarily wearing a 3-piece suit, but I'm wearing a nice shirt. I might be wearing a jacket. I'm not wearing shorts. I'm not wearing my hat that I like to wear every day. And I'm walking in that way. And I'm telling them, we're going repair, we're going to maintain, we're going to replace. I don't emphasize replace, I emphasize the repair and maintain. They hear that, and that's different. I just set myself apart from the other 7,000 contractors that I'm competing against. That's how I'm different, right? We're always looking for a competitive edge, aren't we? We're all looking for a competitive edge. Every one of us in this room have meetings, maybe weekly, for sure monthly, or maybe quarterly, of how we set up in front of the room and we talk about how we're going to be bigger and better than everybody else in the industry, right? We all have that meeting. For the most part, we're kind of lying to each other because we're all actually the same at the end of the day until I'm intentional about being different from those other people. So when you make that transition from the residential to the commercial, that's one way how you set yourself apart. Guys, we see it all the time. I walk into meetings, we'll walk into board meetings, HOAs, they'll always, I'm not sure about here, I'm sure it probably would be the same. For the most part, when an HOA needs to have a roof replaced, there's some bylaws that they generally have to bring in 2 to 3 companies to present to the board, for the board to choose who they want to pick. I walk into an HOA board meeting, and I'm talking, this is a $2 million HOA. I've got guys in there that they look like your typical shitbag roofer from, Gallar, Texas. That's the guy that I'm competing against. That guy has no chance, no opportunity, he's never going to get the job because he's just a typical guy. We walk in there, one, with confidence, not cockiness, but confidence, but 2, that we deserve and belong in this room. We've done it before, even when we've never done it before. We walk in for business casual. Why? It's not a $20,000 roof. It's $1 million roof. You got to set yourself apart. You don't bring in a sample board shingles like we normally do. I don't bring in a GAF sample board with weather board. I bring in my GAF rep. I bring in the manufacturer. I bring in a supplier that's going to set up in front of the room and tell these people this is a great company, they pay their bills, there's not going to be an issue, we're going to have a product, we're going to deliver it right, we're going to deliver on time. We come in like professionals. It's a whole, it's a different world. There's not, if we get honest with ourselves, when I say things like this, please don't think I'm knocking the roofing industry, man, because I'll be the first guy to find anybody over the roofing industry, I truly will. But I'm also going to be honest about it, that our industry, like we cut our own throats. There's not a lot of professionalism in our industry. I don't know if you guys agree with that, but there just isn't. There's not a lot of professionalism. So what if we could be professionals in what we do? You know what I realized about that? My brother-in-law runs a plumbing company, right? He runs a plumbing company, and I was talking to him years ago. I literally realized that my brother-in-law that runs a plumbing company that's literally dealing with human feces all day long looks down on a roofer. Right?
There's always a septic guy.
There's always a septic guy, right? But that's just kind of what it is. To me, our industry is the greatest industry out there. We can set, the sky's the limit for us. There's so many things that we can do. There's so many things we can do. We hold ourselves back, though. I believe. I know when I first moved to Denver 16 years ago, I was talking to a guy 16 years ago told me, I said, well, how do you know if you're like a good salesman in this industry? He told me 16 years ago, you're a good salesman if you sell $1 million a year in roofs. That was 16 years ago. How many of us still celebrate the fact that someone sells $1 million a roof? Right? That's kind of the goal that we teach our guys to get to is $1 million. So 16 years ago, when I did a house, the average ticket on a house was like $8,600. That same damn house that I roofed in 2007 that I'm roofing now in 2023, that same house is now worth like $28,000. I'm saying that to say that sometimes we as a profession, as an industry, we kind of hold ourselves back because we don't understand actually what's out there and the opportunities. We have the ability as a group, as an industry, to literally change our lives for generations. There's a lot that goes into it, but I'm talking like financially and all these things that we can do. We can set ourselves up, even generations up financially because of roofing. How many other industries can you get into? You're not going to go work at Walmart, you're not going to go work wherever and be able to truly change your life. You're going to get by. But I get into roofing, I can bring people into roofing, and I can truly change their life. Now that's in residential. That's in residential. There's unbelievable opportunity in residential. There's unbelievable money that can be made. Please don't think I think all I think about is the money. Yes, it's important. There's a lot of other things that are more important than that, but there's also the reality that we need money to make the ship turn. What time is it? Let me check it over. Shoot. I think I got 20 now, or 7 minutes. Apologize. You know what I want to do, guys? I want to open it up for a few minutes, just questions. Again, I'm sorry I did not have the slide. If you would like, after the class come up, can you get my number? I will text over to you. I'll get on the phone, talk to you. We do a couple of things. We actually have a commercial roofing academy, a 2.5-day event that we host every 2 months. Next one's actually in Phoenix in November. That we 2.5 days we deep dive into building relationships and how to do that, how to set up the repair department. But let me open it up for questions. But
when you're pitching to the repair for multi-family or commercial services, what are your core things you're offering to repair, maintenance, response time?
yes. So the way that we set this up with repairs, thank you for bringing that up. This is super important. Most companies are going to say, yeah, we'll do the repair and blah, blah, blah. And then like 2 weeks later, that property manager is calling to get done. And they're like, I don't want to call the roofer. So the way that we set it up is someone calls in for a leak. We have a 24-hour response time. So within 24 hours, one of my techs goes out, analyzes, diagnoses the leak. He turns it back into the office. Within 24 hours, I have an estimate back to the owner of the property. They accept the bid, they do whatever, but within 48 hours, basically, my guy's been out to look at it. 24 hours later, we give them an estimate. From there, we communicate. Once they accept the bid, sign our estimate, we coordinate with them. We let them know that, hey, one of our techs is going to be out there Wednesday at 11 a.m. And we're tracking our techs. If they're going to be running late or they're early, we're calling them saying, hey, he's hung up the traffic. He's not going to be there until noon, but he'll be there. And once he gets in, he checks in with on-site manager or owner, lets him know he's there. He gets up, does his thing. He's documenting it on company cam throughout the process. So he gets done. That report gets back. The report gets put back together to the owner. The owner gets a report the next day with the company cam documentation of what it looked like when we got there, what it looked like as he was doing the repair, what it looked like when he finished. So they never have to call us and say, hey, did you get that repair done? We preemptively send that out to us, so we always know that communication of what's actually going on sets us apart. You talk to any of my clients that I have anywhere, they will tell you that the communication is what sets us apart. It's not that we have the cool shirts or the higher of the trucks. What else we got?
You can take a few minutes about the transition from roofing to commercial. We're reasonably large. We do about 24 million total, about 2.5 of that commercial. It's all by accident. It's like someone knows us, will you do it for us? Sure, fine. We always bring out the manufacturer rep, so we don't screw it up, all that kind of stuff. But we have guys who want to do more commercial, but there's a lot of fear and trepidation. I am stepping slowly into that. Can you talk about that transition? How do you assess when it's right? What's step 1, step 2, step 3? So can you do another hour?
Right. So the guys, that's why we have the first roofing academy. The guys that you actually think are going to be great commercial salesmen won't be. I'll tell you that right now. The dude that's your best, or gal that's your best residential salesperson, will stuck as a commercial person. Why? Because they're all about transactions. They're all about transactions, and they're all about speed. They're pushing the pencil, they're the contract across the table, they're getting signed. They're great at doing that. When we get into true commercial, yeah, they're going to stumble across a couple here or there and be able to sell it. But when I talk about being sustainable in the commercial, that's what it's about, right? We don't want to be in business forever. We want to be sustainable. It's about our guys going out there and building a relationship. My rock star sales rep is not going to be a good business development person. That's always been my experience. Yes?
What are your KPIs then for your business development team? How do you measure this?
That's a great question. So our KPIs that we have, because they are W-2 employees, so we have KPIs on our business development people. It's what we call a 30-point touch. So there's a 30-point touch. They have to make with every single day. Because right, when do most businesses are open? Property management companies, they're open from like 8, 5, 9 to 5, right? So the way that what I want my people to do is this 30-point touch 5 days a week. I want them to make either 10 emails that go out to their clients or prospective clients, 10 phone calls, and 10 on-site visits. So you think, well, how the hell can they do 30 of those things in one day? It's actually easy. Let's think about it. The 10 emails are pretty much cut and paste. That takes 5 minutes to send out 10 emails. 10 phone calls, you probably can talk to 2 or 3 of those people for 2 or 3 minutes. Now, that's another 10, 20, 30 minutes, whatever. Now I've got 10 site visits. So if I map it out, I don't want to be bouncing from North Houston to South Houston, whatever over here. You can plan it out, and there's literally 10 office buildings or 10 property managers that I want to visit over on this side of town that are within 5 minutes of each other. It takes me 3, 4, or 5 hours. So I like to have 30-point contact a day. It sounds hard. I promise you it's not. Everybody, I always tell that to when they get hired or bring them in, they're like, there's no way in hell I can do that. Like, that's way too much. Dude, they're done by 2 o'clock.
So each thing's not a sales call, it's just a touch. It's just a relationship.
Yeah, we eliminate sales. We ain't selling, brother. I'm building a relationship. Do you have a question?
Yeah, it's basically about, falling into stuff, having good luck, having a relationship with a homeowner, a residential job, and then getting an opportunity for commercial work, and not having that experience of doing that commercial work and specifying materials and dealing with the logistics and things like that. How do you make that transition to finding the right people, or you can read the
It's a great question. I'll tell you exactly why. No, sometimes you gotta remove your ego a little bit. Here's why. I don't ever want to admit to another roofer, another rival company that I don't know what the hell I'm doing. So I'll go out and screw up the job before I ever ask for help. That's human nature, generally. So what I can do and what I have done before, a lot of you guys probably know Precision. They're big. They do a ton of tile all over the country, based in Dallas. We sold like this massive tile about 5 years ago. I called Precision and I partnered with them. And what I did is I made very good money partnering with them. I could have made $1 million, but I made $500,000. Still a lot of money. But I also paid for my education, and they come in and they taught me what they know. So I partner with different companies when I sell to big job. One thing too, guys, all your residential customers right now, where do they work? Probably in an office building somewhere. They might be the facilities director or know the facility director. So that's where you start building the relationship. Ask your current clients that already know you. Rely on the manufacturer. Rely on all those people to help set you up. You got to build a partnership and relationship with your manufacturer and supplier, along with your customers. I think we got a minute or so. I'll be around too, guys. I think we're actually over, so I think it's at 10:20. Any questions, thoughts, come up to me and I'll give you my number and we can connect. Again, 2 things before I let you go. Connect with me. Again, my name's Paul Reed, planning on Facebook or wherever, but we have a commercial roofing academy where we dive into this for 2.5 days. It's a year-long program. And then most importantly to me is I'm also one of the founders of Roofers in Recovery. So with Roofers in Recovery, we are a nonprofit. Our primary purpose is to put men and women into a rehab center that are in the roofing construction industry. Well, every one of us in this room has somebody that we know personally that's going through it. If you're in the roofing construction industry, or they are, please connect them with us. We help put them into rehab, we help mentor them, sponsor them, do all those things. We are a nonprofit. Please pull us up online. You can always use help. Right now, we have 3 people in rehab, actually, as I'm sitting here today, one maybe top today. It's what we do. So if you know anybody that works for you, or you yourself, please reach out to me, and we'll help put things back together, do the best we can. So thank you guys. Appreciate y'all being here.